Batman has had one of the most famous rogue galleries in comic books for decades, even though the modern DC universe is built around recognizable villains like the Joker, Two-Face, and Bane. The list of antagonists in The Dark Knight continues to expand constantly. The Batman Who Laughs, one of the most significant recent additions to Batman's rogues gallery, has transformed Batman's deepest fears into an existential threat to the DC Multiverse. Hello everyone, and welcome to a highly intriguing video about the latest and deadliest villain in the DC universe. Yes, as we know, Batman is undoubtedly the strongest superhero in the DCU, as he has more than enough backup plans not just to fight any known or unknown villain, but also the fact that he has ways to take down any other hero should they turn evil at any moment. So it makes perfect sense that if Batman were to turn evil, things would quickly become chaotic, and that is exactly what is happening right now in the DC universe. Let's delve deeper into this. Before we begin our explanation, we have a small request. If you appreciate our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but it means a lot to us. Thank you. Now let's start exploring the origins of the Batman Who Laughs. To give you a background on the Batman Who Laughs, we need to go back and look at the mini-series that has now become more of a true series, Batman Metal. In this series, we discover that before there was anything at all, even before the multiverse existed, there was the World Forge, filled with dark matter, precious metals, and the World's Forger. It was a heavenly entity that used metals and minerals available in the universe to create entirely new universes. As he forged new universes, the successful universes would be accepted into the army of worlds, while the failed universes would be destroyed. However, a deity named Barbados decided to take advantage of the situation by claiming these broken worlds for himself instead of letting them be destroyed as failures. He would let them grow and fall into chaos and destruction. It was from different worlds like these that the Darkest Knights emerged. In such a world, where Bruce Wayne was already a bit of a loose cannon, the Joker kidnaps him and tortures him in the true Joker way. However, this is not enough for him, and he decides that physical torture is just not good enough to harm good old Bruce. The Joker goes through Gotham looking for couples with a child, repeatedly recreating the scene of the murder of Bruce's parents right before his eyes. Not only that, the Joker also uses his poison on the children of the parents he has killed, turning them into little Joker creatures. This is what triggers Batman and pushes him over the edge. He manages to escape and ends up killing the Joker. However, the Joker has the last laugh, for with his last breath, he infects Bruce with a kind of Joker poison. This closely resembles what happens to Bruce in Batman Arkham Knight. Bruce slowly begins to prepare for the inevitable, knowing that he will turn into something evil. Therefore, he spends most of his time training the rest of the Bat family for when that moment comes, so they can stop him. However, apparently, he had already changed for a while, because during one of these training sessions, he simply kills everyone with machine guns while standing there with his well-known broad smile on his face. The only people who could tip off the Justice League are now gone. It has been repeatedly shown that the Justice League often leaves Bruce to his own devices, regularly giving him the space to work without control or oversight. This is because the Justice League has so many challenges to deal with, and each member is faced with their own opponents constantly. This is a significant mistake that cannot be undone. Do not forget that the Justice League probably never raised an eyebrow, as they are aware that Bruce oversees the Bat family, and that he slaughtered the entire Bat family a week earlier. They were gone, and no one noticed. This gives Batman a full week of infamous preparation time. But more importantly, he now has access to the Justice League watchtower from his Batcave, meaning he can view cameras, audio files, documents, and updates at any time without leaving. He can literally keep an eye on everyone in the watchtower, and since he helped fund and build it, you know he likely has specific override codes and secret ways to watch without being detected by the watchtower systems that he set up with intel from Wayne Enterprises, and constant updates are absolutely essential for Batman to even stand a chance against anyone in the Justice League. But again, what's important is that they didn't look for him, didn't suspect him, and gave him free access to the entire Justice League without any restrictions. Batman knew all of their weaknesses, but before he could submit them under the Joker's influence, he turned those knockouts into kill shots because it's often easier to kill someone than it is to capture them. In the issue that shows L's origin, there's a panel where we see the Justice League all dead in the same room, and it looks like this just happened, which is the second major aspect of the panel, suggesting that the battle was one-sided, as practically every member of the Justice League is far more powerful than him. Batman carefully chose the ideal moment to strike, making sure his attack left nothing to chance and no one breathing. If he had left even one person alive, that would have been his undoing. Batman only had one chance, and if he messed up somewhere, it was probably too late. Who was the Batman who laughs like before killing the Joker of his universe? The Batman who laughs was much like the Batman of Earth Prime. However, Batman was exposed to a nanotoxin that gradually changed him. It altered the way he thought and distorted his moral character, making him more like the Joker. Bruce was also able to retain his highly alert and calculating intelligence, as well as the organized and logical components of his mind. Despite these changes, he has developed into a character with the martial skills and tactical precision of Batman, as well as the Joker's immoral passion for chaos and madness. The laughing Batman seems obsessed with winning and believes he can always defeat his enemies, having let go of the self-imposed limitations that prevented him from using more brutal and murderous techniques in the past. The laughing Batman has indeed been able to adapt to various situations and survive under all sorts of incredible circumstances without the restraints of his code, such as taking over the world. No, he has literally taken over the entire multiverse and has become an omnipotent, cosmically aware, godlike entity, having already destroyed his own universe and learned from many others. He can also be quite condescending, and this trait of his is clearly shown when he stops the Grim Knight from killing Jim Gordon so he can suffer a much more cruel fate and appears before the Court of Owls with no agenda other than to witness their death screams. Bruce is still one of the most horrific villains in the DC universe. While it is assumed that he himself did not choose to be a villain, it seems by this reasoning that the Batman who laughs may be more tragic than the Joker, despite his greater evil. The Batman who laughs may choose to set aside the ideas of good and evil in order to act in a way that he believes is best, which in this case is winning, as he believes it is the only important action. If he were to adopt the Joker's corrupt morals, albeit severely distorted, the Batman who laughs may still have some sense of good and evil, given that he was able to retain some of his previous thought patterns regarding his genius. This is not the case currently, as the Batman who laughs has gained cosmic awareness, as he is aware that what he did was wrong, but still has desires to cause chaos and destruction without any remorse or sense of consequence. Because of this, one could say that he can no longer use his parents as an excuse and has become much worse, even than the Joker. However, when we also consider the theory that Batman and the Joker are two sides of the same coin, things get a little more interesting and confusing. This Batman could be an iteration of what happens when the Joker's immorality gets just a little bit more out of hand, or perhaps this is just how far he could actually go to achieve his goals, whatever they may be. When exploring some of his unique powers, all of the preparation, discipline, and experience of the Prime Earth Batman are present in the Batman who laughs. He is also aware of the advantages and disadvantages of many superheroes and supervillains in the DC universe, as he has killed all of these characters in his own universe. He can practically adapt to any circumstance and has knowledge from many different worlds he has visited. The Batman who laughs is extraordinarily dangerous due to all these qualities, as well as the fact that people born in the dark multiverse have a very high resistance to attacks from people in the main multiverse. However, he has some noticeable shortcomings. Both Nth Metal and Element X have the potential to seriously harm him. The Batman who laughs is still Batman, despite how different he has become, and he can be caught off guard by circumstances that Batman is not prepared for. For example, when Batman and the Joker work together, this combination, along with his arrogance, makes it possible for him to be defeated by unexpected events. The miniseries The Batman Who Laughs reveals that he has the capacity to discern people's desires, which he can use to hunt for what he wants. However, in order to focus his senses and aim at the object he seeks, he must wear a visor constructed of dark metal. The Batman Who Laughs has near-omnipotent abilities that are at least on par with Manhattan, having absorbed the powers of an alternate universe Dr. Manhattan and re-emerged as the Darkest Knight, making him one of DC's most powerful adversaries. Since Manhattan is never truly defeated, but merely convinced to change his plans, is the Batman Who Laughs blind? Why does he wear a spiked visor? The Batman Who Laughs wears a spiked visor over his eyes, and it has often made us wonder, how on earth can he see? We find this out in one particular issue where there is an interaction between Batman and Alfred. Concerned for Bruce's well-being, Alfred removes his visor, revealing a pair of damaged-looking red eyes. Bruce is immediately enraged and demands the visor back, revealing that he can see. But what's going on with those eyes in a certain frame in the comic, we see that. This Bruce can see into the dark multiverse, meaning that when he looks at someone, he can see their dark sides, fears, and desires. The spiked visor he wears is made of dark metal and allows him to ignore other visual stimuli and focus on what he wants. Otherwise, it would probably be overwhelming, even for Bruce. Is it possible to kill him? This question is a bit complicated, since the Batman who laughs is a creature of the dark multiverse, and he is sensitive to nth metal. This means that he can technically be killed in much the same way that Superman can be killed with kryptonite, which has been shown before. However, the intriguing thing is that while this particular Batman who laughs may die, it is possible that another one could emerge to take his place. We are mainly talking about the idea of a Batman who laughs here. It is entirely possible that another evil Batman is born in another dark universe, or perhaps even multiple ones. This means that although the one we are familiar with and who has completely taken over Gotham City will probably never be the only one, we have recently seen that the evil Batman has even developed batarangs infused with a kind of toxin that could turn other heroes and villains into the Batman who laughs. A prime example of this is when Superwoman saved Superman from such a batarang and herself transformed into a Batwoman who laughs. This is, in fact, more evidence supporting the theory that you don't even need to come from the dark multiverse to transform into one of these despicable and demonic Batmans. Literally anyone in the multiverse can become a Batman who laughs. You could almost call it a kind of I am mortality. What happened to him after his death, the zombie form of the Batman who laughs, merged with Perpetua, the evil architect of the universe, leading up to Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo's. The Dark Knight's demise came after a particularly brutal attack on the DC Universe. Wonder Woman struck him with the Saw of Truth, a weapon constructed from the wreckage of her invisible plane and her lasso of truth. After Bruce used the architect's limitless power to reshape the DC Universe in his twisted image, the Batman who laughs was killed in the attack, but his brain and spinal cord were still intact, allowing for a brain transplant into a new body. Unfortunately for DC's heroes, this body belonged to a brain-dead Bruce Wayne, who had been gifted with the reality-bending powers of Dr. Manhattan from Watchmen, one of DC's newest and most powerful powers. Perpetua is a godlike entity that birthed the DC Multiverse as we know it today. She has been virtually untouchable during recent events due to her level of power up until now. The old one was apparently killed by the remnants of the prison, that which once held her, since the perpetual struggle with the Darkest Night ended in a major defeat. One of the super celestials, born from the source, Perpetua was conceived at the dawn of creation. Initially, Perpetua intended to construct a DC multiverse before returning her powers to the source. However, she deviated from this path and endeavored to create a self-sustaining multiverse. Ultimately, Perpetua faced betrayal after giving rise to 3 offsprings: the Monitor, the Anti-Monitor, and the World Forger, who conspired to aid her. The collaboration of these 3 succeeded in confining Perpetua behind the source wall by aligning themselves with the forces beyond the source. Out of fear that the multiverse might one day perish, taking her along with it, Perpetua sought to exert control over beings. This initiated a sequence of events leading to the crisis on Infinite Earths, Infinite Crisis, and Final Crisis, each contributing to the weakening of the source wall, with DC Metal providing the ultimate enhancement. Perpetua was completely restored by Lex Luthor, who also assumed the role of her protector, played a pivotal role in the events leading up to Death Metal, and spent the majority of the event fully unleashed, wreaking havoc on the multiverse. However, the Batman who laughs, who took Luthor's place at her side, had been scheming behind her back, transforming into the Darkest Night after inheriting the abilities of Dr. Manhattan. The Darkest Night engaged Perpetua in battle while the very fabric of reality was collapsing around them, unveiling his full power after siphoning crisis energy from 3 fractured realities. Despite being cut off from their primary power sources due to the machinations of the remaining heroes, both mighty entities persisted in their conflict against one another in Death Metal number 6. Their struggle takes a severe turn as she becomes weaker and increasingly fatigued. Perpetua proposes a relationship with the Darkest Night, asserting that she is the only thing preventing the beings who made her from entering the multiverse and destroying it. The Darkest Night, however, is hoping for precisely such a result, either to put an end to everything or to attempt to destroy it. The Darkest Night explains that he had one more plan for Perpetua when she is all but destroyed. The Darkest Knight assembles the fragments of the source wall that formerly confined her using his abilities. The Darkest Knight imprisons her inside the wall, remains despite her protests. The Darkest Knight struck out, presumably killing her, one last insult still screaming in her ears. The Darkest Knight was refueled as a result, and he was able to finish creating the Dark Multiverse when Batman Who Laughs killed the entire Justice League and slaughtered the Court of Owls, the bulk of Earths. The mightiest heroes perished as a result of Batman's rapid transformation from hero to a remorseless supervillain. The Justice League, whom he perceived as his greatest threat, was among those who were killed. Batman infiltrated the Watchtower's weapons vault to seize many of the most powerful weapons from the team's most formidable adversaries and utilize them against his former allies. All were slaughtered, with the exception of one team member, Superman. Bruce revealed his plan to employ the vast array of weapons the League had accumulated from their numerous foes to conquer the entire planet during his final confrontation with the Man of Steel. Batman quickly reached into his pocket and produced a piece of black kryptonite before Superman could react. This led to Superman and his son being consumed by a horrific rage, resulting in Superman killing Lois Lane before ultimately succumbing to the effects of the cosmic rock and perishing. This corrupt Batman has also taken care of Supergirl using the same method. Can the Batman Who Laughs reproduce? To be honest, we do not truly know. If we examine the facts, we know that Bruce Wayne is capable of conceiving a child because Damian exists. However, we do not hear much about any biological child of the Joker. While it is likely that Bruce can still father a child, it is possible that the Joker's toxin, which transformed him, rendered him sterile as well. Yet, this remains speculative, as we lack concrete information in the comics to delve deeper into this matter. It is simply never discussed. Nevertheless, the thought of the Batman Who Laughs having a biological offspring can be quite frightening. Interestingly enough, we actually do see a Joker-influenced Damian after the Batman Who Laughs administered the same Joker toxin to his own son, leading to a transformation. In conclusion, there you have it, folks, the Batman Who Laughs. If we're being honest, it is really no surprise that this is a genuine phenomenon, as Batman is, in fact, Batman. This is precisely what renders his very existence so astonishing. The reality that the entire DC universe remains entangled due to the actions of a Bruce Wayne from an alternate universe is, to say the least, mind-boggling. Furthermore, before I conclude, we would like to recommend that you read The Dark Knight, Rise of the New God. Without revealing too much, there's a monologue within that can be interpreted as the writers addressing us, the readers. This is entirely hypothetical, yet presents an intriguing notion, to say the least. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in our next presentation. If you appreciated our content, kindly leave a like and subscribe if you have not done so already. Wishing you well and safety. Thank you, everyone.